Well, you thought I was emotional with Jim Jackson. You know, it is the people that make this go. It really is. I feel like Forrest Gump, how I've been at the Earthquake World Series with Jack Buck and Johnny Bench. I was in New York, 9/11. We had just gotten in there that morning after a Monday game in Cleveland. And I've worked with the late, great Jerry Coleman, who was a World War II fighter pilot and also was in Korea, and a Hall of Fame broadcaster who was a character just like Mike Shannon. And when I called Vin Scully and told him that Red Schoendienst had passed on because they were very, very close, I asked Vin, who had been in retirement, I said, Vinny, do you miss it? Well, Johnny, not really. I miss the people. It's all about the people. And he's right, it is. And one of my favorites is going into the Missouri Broadcasters Hall of Fame right now. Tonight, St. Louis and Joe Buck joins his father, the late great Jack Buck, in the NBA Hall of Fame. And recently, Joe was inducted into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame. We're doing something a little bit different tonight, as we're pleased to have Joe's sister, Julie, who is also a terrific broadcaster, with us here for the induction. And Julie and Joe, come on up, and we'll have you take your seats here, and we'll have a little conversation with Joe and Julie. And while you get set up, when Joe was doing the Louisville Redbirds, I had Mr. Hyland, I call him Mr. Hyland, he had me come in from New York to work some shows, and I saw Jack in the studio there, and I said, Jack, I'm going over to the ball game. And he went, why don't you come with me, kid? Okay, so I did. I got in the car. We drove all the way from KMOX over to his parking spot next to the stadium, but we listened to a tape of a Louisville Redbird game from a young Joe Buck. And Jack said, you know, he's better than I am. And I go, he's pretty darn good, Jack. Well, we're going to have him up here doing these games. I said, I know you'd love that, Jack. And he did, and he's done a whole lot more. You know, I don't know if you're better than your father, because you're both great. And you're both your own broadcaster. That's what I am so proud of. And let's turn it over to Julie and Joe.
Thanks, Runes. Thank you guys very much. I know, and my sister Julie, who is as talented as anybody in the family, is going to interview me live in front of you. But I also know that being the last, I guess, pair up here, we are standing between you and the open bar. So we will do our very best to make this go as quickly as we can so that you guys can start drinking here in Margaritaville. I cannot believe there's a place called Margaritaville, and that I am sitting in it, and that I am a Missouri Broadcast Association Hall of Famer, but, you know, crazy things happen in this world. Go ahead, Julie. What would you like to ask me?
Well, on the way here, we pretty much solved all of the world's problems driving from St. Louis. We talked about all of our problems. It's all relative when you're a kid growing up. And then tonight, he kept looking at me and saying, what are you going to ask me? And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to ask you, but I figured we might as well start with your credit card number. I think everybody would like to have that.
A lot of people seem to have that credit card number.
Including me.
Most of them are women in my life. Ex-wife, current wife, daughters, sister, right on down the line.
I think so.
Yes.
It's true.
But let's keep this to broadcasting, Julie.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. I still, honestly, I mean, we grew up obviously down the hall from one another, and we grew up traveling around, following our father around. That was where we really got our dad's attention as a kid, mostly. Would be on the road when you'd get to tag along on a Cardinal road trip, or after the ball game when you would hold his beer while he would sign an autograph walking out of Busch Stadium. But still, when I listen to your calls, it's still to this day, and it's not just because I have your credit card number, it still gives me chills to hear all of those calls. And a lot of people think, wow, that must be something, having a brother that's that successful. And I like to say, if I would have known he was going to be this successful, I would have been a lot nicer to him growing up. But I do feel so proud, and so much pride with not just the kind of broadcaster that he is, because that's I mean, that kind of goes unsaid. It's remarkable to go back and to listen. And I'm somebody who's at home nowadays, standing or laying there in my bed with my retainer and it's a beautiful sight. My retainer, I'm no makeup, laying there, and he'll say, "How was that?" in a text, or he'll say, "Was that okay?" And I just still sit here and go, "Are you kidding? That was fantastic." I mean, I don't know what you're hearing, but we're all hearing something that just sounds like lightning in a bottle. And I'm not going to stand here and praise you, make you sit there while I'm doing this. And I know that there probably are questions that people are wondering, but I know one of the big ones is, do you hate the other team? I feel like that's a big
Yes, that's kind of the way it goes in life when you broadcast national games on baseball. John has done that over the years. You're always accused of hating both teams because you're not there representing either one. I can say here, right now, in Missouri, the St. Louis Cardinals are a part of my DNA. I grew up happy when they won when I went to bed, and mad if they lost the night before when I woke up in the morning. And it's hard to put that stuff aside, but that's just part of the job. So to get a chance to call David Freese hitting that game-winning home run in Game 6 I think it's the greatest game I've ever seen, let alone broadcast. And it was an unbelievable line of events, succession of events that happened to get them to Game 7 and win that. But you have to put up with some of that stuff. And the stuff that I've done on Funny or Die with the guys going, "I hate you, Joe Buck," and people in New York, "You suck." People in Boston, "You suck." People in San Francisco, "You suck." One of my funniest stories is being in the broadcast booth at the end of a Cardinals-Giants playoff game, and I'm packing up my stuff, and this little kid's voice is down in front going, "Mr. Buck! Mr. Buck!" And the stadium's pretty much emptied out. I get up at the end, I look down, and the kid goes, and he's standing there with his father, who patted him on the back as if I've never been so proud of my son, who just flipped off the Fox announcer, Joe Buck. But you have to laugh to yourself. I did flip him off back, and, that's just the way it goes. But you can either cry about that and not do it, or you can kind of laugh at it, know what it is, and just go on about your life and about your career. I could talk about this for days, and Bev talked about the imposter syndrome. I live it. I live it every day. I come to an event like this, and all I think about is my dad. I come to an event like this, and all I think about is how many advantages I got, whether it's back with Ron Jacober, wherever he is right there, back in the Camo Exports office when I was 18, doing sports reports, 19 doing AAA baseball, 21 doing the Cardinals. All of that stuff happens because I am a Hall of Famer's son. And when I was ripped in the papers when I was back then, 21, it hurt. And it kind of shook me because I was getting criticized for just being somebody's kid. But I think it spurred me to work harder. And it really lit a fire under me to try and be the best that I could be. But I'm just lucky. I wrote a book whenever it came out. It's available nowhere, so this is not a plug for it. It's out of print. But it's called Lucky Bastard. And I am both lucky and a bastard. And I've been exactly what Jim Jackson said. I think it was Jim who said he's been in the right place at the right time. It's been everybody that's been in this microphone tonight. I happened to come along at the right time in my dad's life. I happened to come along and do baseball with the Cardinals at the right time. Fox drops out of the sky. They get the NFL in 1994, and I'm doing football at Soldier Field, and I've never broadcast football in my life, even high school, and I'm doing an NFL game. Then they get baseball. And I'm like, well, that's the one thing I do. So in 1996, they let me do the World Series at 27 years old. And then Summerall and Madden leave, and then I'm doing the games with Aikman and Collinsworth. It's just been a succession of events that make everybody else in this business want to throw up because I've had all these opportunities. But I've tried to make the most of them. I tried to pay attention when I was a little kid. I think what I've learned over the years from our dad is the greatest gift he gave me as a dad was letting me know that I was welcome in the room. I knew when I was a little boy that if I wanted to be near my dad, and he worked a ton, he worked way harder than me. He made his own name. He was a Depression-era kid. He was a World War II Purple Heart recipient. He worked his way through the minor leagues. He worked with Harry Carey. He made his own name. I get to ride in on all that stuff, but he let me know when I was a little boy that if I wanted to be in his office when he got that radio voice on talking into his telephone, I had to be quiet. And if I wanted to go with him on a trip to Los Angeles, and we might have stopped in Las Vegas on the way home, and I was 8 or 10, and he gave me a $20 bill and said, go play Donkey. Don't go play Donkey Kong, kid. I'll see you in the morning. And up to my room I went, and he'd waltz in at 6:30 in the morning, and we'd get on a flight back to St. Louis, and he'd either have a big wad of cash or he'd say, well, we worked for free this week, Buck. And we're seeing player X in the hotel bar with a woman that didn't look like his wife. Put your head down, kid, and don't talk about what happens on the road. That's just the kind of the way I grew up. It was like Mad Men. And I knew where I was welcome and where I wasn't, and I was pretty smart about it. But I'm the luckiest Hall of Famer ever to go into a Hall of Fame.
So David Hill from Fox was talking about how he received a tape from Joe Buck's mother. And everybody associates it sounds like I'm going to pray, our father with Joe. But it's really, honestly, I mean, a lot of it he got from our dad. But our mom, Carol Buck, is an amazing person, I think, that kind of shined before her time. She kind of took a back seat for our dad. Talk about that story about how Mom first got the big VHS tape over to Fox.
Yeah, Fox, as I said, I was at Camo X because Ron took one night off back then, and I happened to be there when Fox, it came over the wire that Fox Sports and the Fox Network, which at that time was known for like either The Simpsons or Married with Children and the Joan Rivers Show, that they were going to cover the NFC, and they just took it away from CBS Sports. And I was on Sports Open Line that night just railing against Fox and going, my God, what has happened to the NFL? They're going into business with Fox. This is a joke. And then I got a call. I was like, would you like to audition for Fox? I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, Fox is awesome. So the reason I got the audition was because our mom took my VHS tape, which I'd been doing the Cardinals for whatever it was, 3 years, and went to Ed Gorin, who was at CBS prior to going to Fox, and handed Ed's wife, Patty, my VHS tape, and they watched it. I think Ed said that he had to do it because Patty would have been mad at him if they did it. They watched my tape as a favor. But then they called me in the spring of 1994 and said, fly to L.A. and audition, which, you know, I didn't know what I was getting into. And so my dad called Channel 4, and they sent him a VHS tape of an old Saints game. And my dad and I sat in the living room, and I broadcast the game off the TV. He was my color guy, and I was doing too much. He's like, just calm down, kid. You don't need to say all this. It's TV. And I kind of curtailed what I was doing, and I flew to L.A., and I auditioned with a guy named Tim Green, who was in that video, and we ended up working together for a couple of years. And I sat in a studio. I put a headset on. I watched the game on a TV like a monitor that's down in front of us right now, and it started. I really didn't know anything about the teams, who was who, but I just worked my way through it. And Tim Green had never broadcast anything before, so he and I are just kind of flying blind, but I knew it was going okay. And we got finished. I took the headset off, and I walked out, and some guy from Fox, who I had never seen before and hadn't seen since, came up to me and he said, do you have an agent? And I said, no. And he said, well, you better get one because we're going to hire you. And they didn't say that to Tim Green. So he and I went to breakfast after that. I knew that I had a job coming up, and I flew back, and I'd never seen my dad so proud. When I landed back in Florida during spring training of 1994, and I had a network job. And I go back to that audition many times in my head thinking, had that audition not gone well, who knows where my career goes. And had it stayed in St. Louis doing the Cardinals the rest of my life, I would have been the happiest guy in the world. It's all I wanted to be when I was a kid was my dad. And so I was lucky enough to do other stuff and tried to make the most of it.
You lucky bastard.
I am
That's
a lucky
right.
bastard.
That's the book.
Available nowhere.
I don't know really, honestly, why I'm up here. I know that Joe wants to accept this award, and that all of you have been so gracious to welcome us. And on behalf of Joe's 4 kids, 28, 26,
25.
25, you're right, 25, and then twin boys that just turned 7. He's got a really crazy busy life, but I know that it was important to him.
I have told my wife that this is a week-long event.
Perfect.
Just don't blow it for me. If somehow she gets a hold of one of you looking for me, I said I will be back mid-June. I can't do it anymore. I have no more patience. I get no sleep. I have 7-year-olds that are pulling at me all day. It's actually the greatest thing in the world, and I am lucky in that sense too. So we had great parents. That's my number one job, is to be the best dad, the best husband I can be. I know I'm the best dad. I think I fail at the husband part. At least I'm told I do quite a bit. But short of that, this is amazing. So.
You're an incredible father. You're an incredible
Well,
husband. I mean, as far as I know, right? You're an amazing brother and a wonderful son, uncle, friend, all of those things. But tonight, you're a Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Buck.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
And I want to take these off. Got it.
Can I just say one thing just about the other award recipients? I think everybody has said the same thing too, and if they haven't said it, they've certainly alluded to it. First of all, John Rooney and I go way back. He and I did Mizzou basketball back. We tried to narrow it down to 1994. I was 25 years old and had no idea what the hell I was doing. Jim Jackson, who is one of the sweetest, smartest, most gentle people you'll ever meet. It's an honor to go in with you, Jim. Thank you for all you did for me. Who else? Ron Jacober. My God, my career literally goes back to day one with Ron Jacober and his beautiful family, and I owe you. The point is, I owe you so much, Jim, for shepherding me through, John when I was a kid doing basketball. These people, Mike Shannon, who we laugh about, was brilliant and a great broadcaster and like a second dad to me, and I learned as much from him as I did my own father. To the other award recipients, I'm going to try to do it. Cy, my God, people that were trailblazers. Bev, congratulations on what you have done and what you were doing. Dave, did I miss anybody? Dave, people that just started and went after something and just had a passion for what they were doing. Again, I stand up here as that imposter, and now I'm going to wrap this up because it's going too long, but they did not have to treat me as well as they did. I was Jack Buck's kid, and I don't know how I would treat somebody. I think I would treat them nice, but if somebody just dumped somebody's kid on me and said, here, make this work, make this kid the best that he can be, whether it's John or Ron or Jim or whoever, I was very fortunate not just to be Jack Buck's kid, but to be surrounded by the people I was surrounded by when I was a young person in this business, and I've tried to pay that forward. And whoever else said it, it is about the people. And like Rune said, talking to Vin Scully, you miss the people. You don't miss the balls and strikes, the home runs, the prep, any of that stuff. You miss the people you get to be around each and every day because they become part of your family. So I've been very fortunate, I've been very lucky, and for this award, I am very humbled and very grateful. So thank you very much.
And you see why we took to him immediately? Because he's the same now as he was in his mid-20s when he made that jump and has put together such a wonderful career.